When I taught, if somebody raised a question, if somebody had a criticism, most likely they were the brave person, and there is still, many individuals in the room, if you will, that are afraid to ask the question.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. You can see it right behind me. Let's give you another view of that. There you go. If you're hanging out on the YouTube channel, thank you for joining us. We are slowly building up our subscribers, so please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. If you're on audio, I invite you to find us on YouTube. You can, of course, watch and listen while you are doing your appraisal work. We would love to have you on there. I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored, of course, by OREP Insurance. OREP is the insurance that I use for my E&O. You should be as well. OREP.org, OREP.org. A la mode is the software that I'm using daily to do my appraisal work. You should be as well. Alamode.com. or 800 a la mode. All right, folks, I want to do something a little bit different today, and that is I want to respond to the critics out there. And thankfully, knock on wood, is that wood? I don't think I even have wood around here. Maybe this back here, we'll pretend the drywall's wood. I don't really have a lot of critics, thankfully, but I do have a few, one in particular that you all know and love. And we're going to spend some time with him, or at least with his comments. We can't actually spend time with Mr. Bill Johnson because he doesn't exist. I'll explain that a little bit more when we get into information that he likes to share online. But I do want to answer a few questions out there. The first two are not really criticisms as much as I don't think as questions. But I've just been kind of paying attention over the last little bit, and sometimes I respond and sometimes I don't. It depends on how busy I am or how much I care. I do love the interaction. I truly do. I'll say that up front, and I do absolutely. I know you're going to think I'm lying here, but it absolutely is the honest truth. I do love criticism. I do. It helps me to get better. I wasn't always of that mindset. I might have always said I was, but inside it kind of bothered me. I'm well over that, folks. I've been doing this many, many years, going on 13 years as a coach now, putting myself out there, putting a target on my front and my back, getting hit with arrows. It gets to be a little old hat after a while. It doesn't bother me. I'll tell you what it does. It allows me to be better. And I mean that. It allows me to look at what's going on and truly listen to what people have to say and allow me to say, you know what, is there some merit there? I will say that, as a teacher years ago, I was taught something that I think is absolutely 100% true. And that is, if some student raises their hand and has a question, it is very likely that they are not the only person in the room that has that question, but they may be the only one in that room that actually has the bravery to raise their hand. And so when you're answering a question for one, you're often answering a question for many. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, because these may be individual criticisms or individual questions, but I'm guessing that they're indicative of some other questions or similar questions that many of the listeners have out there. And so I wanted to address them publicly, and hopefully it will be helpful to others. Again, the first two quote unquote questions are not really criticisms. I don't think. Maybe they are. And that's okay one way or the other, but I do want to address them. These are a couple things that came in both of these actually came in via Facebook. And so I want to hit those first, and then after the break, we'll hit our lovely friend, Mr. Johnson out of California. All right. First question came from Kathleen. Kathleen reached out to me again via Facebook, and she said, Dustin, you have said, in parentheses, even made a big deal out of it, that you wear the same wardrobe daily. I sometimes see you in different clothing styles. Which is it? And again, by the way, I know Kathleen, and I don't think this was so much a criticism, although when she says even made a big deal out of it, kind of made me think, okay, maybe she's thinking she's being a little bit critical. That's okay. I love you, Kathleen. Kathleen, thank you for reaching out. And let me just set this up in case people don't know. If you're on YouTube right now, you're seeing me in a blue button-down Stafford shirt. That is my typical wardrobe. Typically, I wear something like that. In fact, let me just switch cameras here, and I'm going to stand up. Well, that's not going to work. Let's do this camera over here. That might help. And you can kind of see the khakis down here. Now, these are actually new. The khakis are a little bit new. Now, I'm pretty, in fact, if you go back to episode number 696, number 696 was, why does Dustin always wear a blue shirt? That is the name of the episode. Now, there was a principle taught in that episode. It was not just about my wardrobe. I really am not one that gives a crap about talking about my clothes or my hair or lack thereof or anything else. But the purpose of that episode was to teach a principle. And go back and listen to the episode again, episode number 696, because I do think that there is a good lesson taught there. And it's a lesson I learned years and years ago when I was studying successful people. And one of the things that I learned is that some successful people have the same wardrobe every single day. They have multiple of the same shirts, multiple of the same pants. And the purpose of that is that they don't have to think in the morning when they get dressed. I know that sounds silly, but when you're as busy as some individuals are, you only have so much brain capacity to commit to creativity every day. And to wear the same wardrobe daily basically means that that's one less decision that you have to make in the morning. Therefore, it's one more decision that you can make on something that might be more important somewhere else. And that was the purpose of the episode, and that's why we did what we did. Now, Kathleen's question is very simple. By the way, my wardrobe typically is either jeans or khaki. Again, not much thought there. It's one side of the closet or the other. Lately, I've been wearing tactical pants, which is kind of nice because it's kind of a mixture of the two. It's got the durability of the jeans, of the Levi's, but it's got the dressiness sort of the khakis. And so that's been my wardrobe of choice lately. But I'm still wearing the Stafford blue shirt most of the time. So to Kathleen's question, after we've now set it up, Kathleen says, you have said, even made a big deal out of it, that you wear the same wardrobe daily. I sometimes see you in different clothing styles. Which is it, Dustin? The question is asked, Kathleen, and the answer is both. Let me explain. When I'm talking about decision making in the morning, typically we're talking a regular work day, which today is. On a regular workday where I'm either out doing inspections or I might be recording videos, that kind of thing, on a regular calendar like day, meaning I've got a lot of decisions to make that day. That's when I'm going to grab the blue shirt. That's when I'm going to grab either the khakis, the Levi's, or recently the tactical pants. And move forward. Why? Because I don't want to have to make those decisions. Okay. And again, I know that sounds silly to some, but I can tell you it really does make a difference in my day when I don't have to dedicate a little bit more time. Now, I am not one that's boring enough that I'm going to wear the same wardrobe 7 days a week. And so when you see me in something else, in a t-shirt, in a hat, in sometimes a flannel shirt, hopefully never in pajamas, but the purpose of that is probably not a typical work day. It probably is a day that's a little bit more relaxed, and it's a little bit of a maybe a weekend or maybe a day that I just don't have much on the calendar. In those cases, I sometimes do take time to dress a little bit different. Gives me a little bit of a little bit of variety. And so that's the answer to the question. Probably spent way too much time on that, Kathleen. Sorry. But the question is asked and the question now answered. You sometimes see me in different clothing styles. Which is it? It's both. If it's a professional day, you're going to see me in the same attire, at least for now. Maybe I'll change my mind down the road. If you see me in something else, it's probably more of a dress down day. Okay, great question. I do appreciate the question. By the way, I love all questions. Please reach out to me. The coach at theappraisercoach.com, or you can reach me on Facebook. Is probably the easiest to just message me, friend me, message me. I usually get back within 24 hours. Okay. Next question, and this definitely was a question, and I appreciate the question. It's a great one, and it's something I spend a lot of time on. And this is a question that was asked by a friend on the phone Thursday. And the question is, what does your day-to-day look like these days, Dustin? Great question. I don't have permission from this friend, not that I couldn't have got it, but it just wasn't something I thought about. But thought it was a great question because that's typically what is asked on a pretty regular basis. When I talk to somebody, it's been a few weeks, a few months since I've talked to them. One of the things that they ask me is, hey, what's going on in your life? What do you do on a day-to-day? What's your day-to-day look like? So just briefly, I'm not going to spend as much time as I did on the wardrobe on this one, but let's talk really quickly. So I announced here recently I was called and asked to be the director of appraiser education at True Footage. Which basically means I head up the education with the help of a wonderful assistant, Allison, who helps me enormously to make sure that the education at True Footage is top notch, and that is a thing that I dedicate several hours a week to and absolutely love. Of course, I'm still doing my coaching on a regular basis, and then I'm spending some time on the short-term rental side of things as well. We now have 8 properties, 7 of them. We got one more up today, one more live on Airbnb today in Verbo. So we have 8 properties. One is doing a major remodel, and we are doing some fun things this summer, which I'm not going to announce yet because I'm not quite sure I'm going to do it. But there's some things we're looking at to do with that property as well, which are kind of fun. So to answer your question, friend, what does my day-to-day look like? It's a lot of bouncing between those 3 things. Director of Appraiser Education at True Footage, coaching, and my short-term rental stuff. I still try to take Fridays off, Saturdays off, Sundays off. I still try to make Monday a planning day as much as possible, but I do slip some other things in there as well. And of course, I always find time to watch my movies, travel, spend time in the outdoors. I recently rebuilt my Skidoo 800 top end. I blew a top end on that and spent about 15-20 hours with my son rebuilding the Skidoo. Had it up and running on Saturday, and it ran perfectly, and there's nothing quite like putting in hard work and it paying off in the end when you're out there in the powder and running those snowmobiles. Lots and lots of fun. Okay, I told you 2 questions, and then we would go to break, and then we would talk about our friend in California, but I want to do one more. Jack wrote to me again. This came through Facebook. He says, when are you going to have an appraiser fest or your own expo or something like that? I would far rather come to your national conference than some of these others. Jack, thank you, by the way. It's a great compliment for you to say that. And I will say, I've considered a national conference in the past. Honestly, it's just not my interest. I know what goes into those a little bit. I've been on the helping side a little bit of those national conferences, and I know that there's a lot of work that goes into those, and they're expensive. The logistics are not really my cup of tea. I do love to teach. I don't like to organize conferences, so probably not ever. Knock on wood. I'm certainly open to that, especially if I might partner with somebody else. But certainly not on my I can't wait to do it thing. Now, I will say this: we're doing some really fun things with the mastermind groups lately. We've been doing some combination mastermind groups, which have been really fun, where we get together with multiple mastermind groups and we meet for more than one day, and that has been really cool. I also can say that and I hate it when people tease, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the reason I'm teasing is not so much to tease you, but I can't really announce it yet because I don't know. I don't have it all settled up, but we have something really cool coming to the mastermind in the next several months, and I cannot wait. It'll be a lot of fun. Some people know about it and most people don't, but we're working on that I would say is similar to a conference, but much more specific and just for mastermind students. So that is coming up pretty soon, which we are excited about. All right. I want to pause here, remind you that we are sponsored by a great company called a la mode. A la mode, of course, is the software that I use. You should be as well. Why do I use it, folks? Well, let's see. I teach technology. I teach human resources. I teach systems to put it all together. I teach efficiencies. Let's see. A la mode fits all of those. Check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800 a la mode. We are sponsored by OREP. Speaking of working with great people, human resources, how about a company that's got your back when you need them to have your back? That's what you want your insurance company to do for you, folks. And they are so much bigger than that. Seriously, I know I talk about this all the time. Go to orep.org and check out their benefits, including, by the way, $10,000 toward a state board investigation. Tell me any other E&O company out there that does that. I don't know of any. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out with you in the podcast chair. I love this new video system. I've really had a lot of fun with this. I know that in the beginning there was some weird transitions, but maybe you can kind of see if I go to this. You can't see it. That's okay. I've got. Oh, you can see it on that one. See that? Just kind of going back and forth. If you're on YouTube, you can check that out. It's a little video. What do they call it? A video mixer. Super fun to play with, and it does make it so much better. I'm still dealing with a little bit of the video versus audio off, and I'm not exactly sure how to fix that. By the way, I had a great guy reach out to me. Thank you, shout out, and thank you for assisting me with my plea to become better as far as video goes. And if you guys have any other technical suggestions for me, I am very open to that, especially the whole syncing up the audio and the video. It's close, but if you watch really close, it's just a titch off. So, okay, let's talk our good friend, Bill Johnson. Who is Bill Johnson? Well, I in a friendly manner, call him my nemesis. Bill Johnson is... Let's say that, well, he recently bragged that he has been correcting the record for 7+ years now. So BJ, that's what I affectionately call Bill Johnson, BJ. BJ, congratulations. Happy anniversary. I'm so proud of you. And guys, I have fun with BJ. You know, I don't mind the criticism. It's fine. But BJ has a bee under his bonnet, a bee under his saddle. For some reason, BJ doesn't like me. He thinks that I'm a fraud. He thinks that I don't practice what I preach. That's some of the things we're going to be talking about here in the next little bit. Some would ask, why give him airtime? I don't know, because it's fun. I really don't know. Maybe I shouldn't, but you know, I don't mind. BJ, keep it up. I mean, he at one point was you know, saying that I was censoring him on the website. Never once have I ever censored anybody on my blogs or my podcasts or anywhere else. Unless they get crude. I think once or twice I had to tell people to knock it off because the profanities were just too much. And it seems like maybe once I had to you know, just remove a comment. It wasn't BJ's. And so BJ, I stand behind. I've never once censored you. You've at least been civil. Some people would argue with that, but in my mind, you've been civil. That's fine. And you know, he is BJ's famous for a broken record of different things that he likes to say. And that's really what I wanted to do first here. Now, before I get to that, I want to say a little bit about BJ, Bill Johnson. Bill Johnson does not exist. Now, he is a human being. He, she, I don't know, non-binary. I really have no idea. Bill is a fraud. In the sense that there is no William Johnson or Bill Johnson or anything similar to that in San Diego County, which is where he claims to be from. How do I know that? Because, well, it's pretty easy. You can check the California record. You can check the national record, and this person doesn't exist. Last time I checked, which was years ago, there was a William Johnson, but I think he was more in the Sacramento area. And so I don't think that that is the same individual. I also know he doesn't exist because I've called BJ out several times and I've asked him to be on this program. And I said, BJ, let's talk, man. Would love to have you on the program. Would love to chat with you. No censoring, no editing. We'll hit record, and whatever you want to say, you say, and I'll say whatever I want to say. And I think the reason he hasn't taken me up on that is because he doesn't exist. And I would require that he uses a real name. If he's going to be on my program, I'm going to require that he uses his real name. I do find it a little bit funny that BJ always ends his comments, his criticisms with "quote unquote" "seek the truth." You've heard Skapinitz use that, in a sarcastic manner before. He's simply quoting Bill Johnson, who says his thing, and then he always says, "Seek the truth." I do find it interesting that Mr. Seek the Truth will not even tell the truth about his name. Who are you, Bill Johnson? We don't know. I've had a lot of speculation over the years as to who BJ is. We don't know. I'm just going to trust that he's in San Diego County, but there's a lot of appraisers in San Diego County. But let's go to, even though we don't know for sure who BJ is, and I think it's a little disingenuous for him to say seek the truth when he won't even admit what his real name is. I'm still going to give him a little bit of airtime because, again, this goes back to how we started the program, and that is when I taught, if somebody raised a question, if somebody had a criticism, most likely they were the brave person, and there is still, many individuals in the room, if you will, that are afraid to ask the question. So I'm going to assume that is correct, and I'm going to address a couple of things that BJ continues to bring up. Now, these are not necessarily word for word comments. I just perused the blog post, but I find something that comes up over and over and over again. In fact, there's like 3 or 4 things that I want to address really quick before we close out today. Okay. The first one is he is famous for the broken record of, quote, Dustin has not been a full-time appraiser since 2010, unquote. I don't know what to say to this. I've called him out several times. I've asked him where he got that from. It's just flat out wrong. It's just not true. Not that I care that much, but I don't know why he keeps bringing it up. Dustin's not been a full-time appraiser since 2010, so why would you listen to him? Folks, it was about 2010 when I kind of had it all figured out when it comes to the success model that I've been teaching. And I went from working 60 hours a week to far, far less than that, sometimes under 40 hours a week. Now, is that what you mean, BJ, that I wasn't working 60 hours plus a week like all the other appraisers out there? And somehow that, I guess in BJ's mind, you have to be working nights, weekends, and holidays to be considered a full-time appraiser. But I've been a full-time appraiser for many, many years, up until last year, when I would absolutely call myself a part-time appraiser, when I sold my appraisal business and moved kind of into a different role, which we talked about before the break as far as education goes. I am still an appraiser. I still do appraisals. I do far, far less than I used to. A couple a month is all, but enough to keep my toe in the water, enough to feel like I'm still a part of the team, if you will. But yeah, I'm not a full-time appraiser now, but I would say that you need to revise, BJ, your findings here, because I've been a full-time appraiser and then some, absolutely since 1996 is when I started with my trainee's license. And up until 2021, December of 2021. And even then I was full-time appraising till probably mid to latter portion of 2022. It really has only been several months now that I've not been a full-time appraiser. So BJ, would love to have you explain yourself. I've asked you several times, you refuse to. BJ is really famous for saying things, and then when you follow up and say, what do you mean by that? He radio silence, especially when you say, what's your real name? All right. Another thing that he talks about, speaking of the sale, is he says something to the effect of, Dustin works for an AMC, so you can disregard anything he says. He's a fraud. He doesn't practice what he preaches. He goes through and basically says that because I sold the true footage, that somehow that makes me less legitimate. It also, for whatever reason in Bill's mind, means that everything I've taught about good business practices somehow go out the window because I'm not practicing what I preach. At least that's what he says. I'm really honestly a bit confused by that. I really am. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, BJ. First of all, let me set the record straight. True Footage is not, never has been, never will be an AMC. We are an appraisal company. We hire appraisers rather. We do appraisals. We are not contracting with appraisers. We are not the AMC model even close. If you would take some time, BJ, to actually study what True Footage is, go to their website, truefootage.tech. You can learn a little bit about what we do. We are absolutely not an AMC. If you listen to any of these podcasts, you can go back to the conversations that I've had with John Liss, talking about my decision to sell to True Footage and talking about what True Footage is. I can tell you that as the director of education for True Footage, folks, I'm pretty up on what we do as a company, what we are as a company. We are absolutely not an AMC. Sorry, BJ. Hate to disappoint you. Actually, I kind of love it. Hate to disappoint you, but we are not an AMC. Let's address the second part to this question. Somehow that because I sold my company and that I work for an appraisal company, which is what they are, not an AMC, that somehow everything I've taught about the principles of leadership, the principles of ownership, the principles of time management, the principles of technology and human resources, somehow that goes out the window. I will just say this, BJ, in my defense. I utilized what I learned to start my appraisal company. And you've heard me say it before, I'll say it again. I did what every other appraiser out there was doing, and I got what every other appraiser out there is getting. And consequently, folks, that was working 60 plus hours a week and making bringing home far less than $40,000 a year, working paycheck to paycheck. That was not the way that I wanted to live my life. I did a huge dedication to success principles, implementing them, failing miserably, picking myself up, bootstrapping, and moving forward, and developed a pretty successful appraisal company, started coaching others on how to do that as well. And I was successful enough that a very successful, meaning in my opinion, the best and definitely the biggest appraisal company out there decided that they wanted to purchase my company. Folks, I can tell you that a company like True Footage is not going to purchase a company that is so-so. They want to be the best. They want to be the biggest. They want to be everything that you would think of when it comes to a great appraisal company. I guess I'm going to try to take that as a compliment that they came to me and offered me a position with them. I'm not sure how that delegitimizes all of that I've been teaching over the last 12 to 13 years. So, BJ, if you could explain that to me, I would really love that. To me, being purchased is a compliment to what I was doing as a business owner. Finally, his latest, this is not a broken record, but it might become. BJ's famous for coming up with these quips and then saying them over and over and over again. His latest is, I'm waiting for you to release the fees True Footage pays its appraisers, Dustin. As if it's some big secret. First of all, I've never heard you ask that before, but the way that you said it recently is waiting for you to release the fees True Footage pays its appraisers, Dustin. Okay, BJ, you're gonna have to use your real name. I'm sorry about that, but pick up the phone and call True Footage. Email them, set up a time. We are not secretive about that. Very, very clear. Now, why don't I just announce it right here on the podcast? Well, for two reasons. Number one, most importantly, it's different for everybody. What you get offered is going to depend on your area, your experience, your business, your efficiencies, what kind of appraiser you are. So much goes into this, right? What kind of demand is in your area? So much of this is very customized, right? What one appraiser makes might be different than what another appraiser makes. And then these podcast folks are not timeless, right? The idea that if I said something here in 2023 that is probably going to be listened to in 2024, 2025, 2030, you name it, that these podcasts stay out there forever, right, is going to be much, much different. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. I can assure you, BJ, if you will reach out to me, you're going to have to unfortunately use your real name. But if you'll reach out to me, I can have a conversation with you. I have these conversations frequently with appraisers who reach out to me, want to know a little bit more about True Footage, and I can turn you to the right people to get the information. It's not that difficult. You're not going to have to wade through multiple interviews to get there. They're pretty upfront with what their fees are. We feel like we pay our appraisers very well. That we provide benefits, that there are a lot of benefits to working for a company like True Footage. And so reach out. This idea that waiting for you to release the fee, as if it's some top secret in my drawer, I've got a lock on it, man. There's no way I'm going to release those fees, BJ. Okay, whatever, buddy. I love you, folks. I hope this is helpful to address the critics today. BJ, my offer stands. I absolutely would love, and I mean that, I will be nice to you. I will be professional to you. I promise. I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I would love to have a conversation, if you want to call it a debate, whatever. I would love to address these things personally rather than just pick up your words and assume what you're possibly saying. Reach out to me, the coach at theappraisercoach.com. Again, that's the coach at theappraisercoach.com. Folks, as we close off, I want to say two things. Number one, seek the truth. Number two, go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.